Yo guys, it's JJ here, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to make a hard new wave glow beat for people like Chief Keef, Trippie Red. But before we get into this, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs by like Easter, really pushing it for 2023, so I really appreciate all the support. But let me not waste your time and let's start the video. So first thing you need to know, for glow beats, usually I'd recommend sticking within the 140 to 150 BPM range. That's where it sounds its hardest in my opinion. And then second thing you need to know is, the first VST I opened up was Expand 2, as you can see here. And I'm using a preset called Producer Brass from the Brass and Woodwind section. For the pattern, as you can see, we've laid it down in the C minor scale, and it's very simple. All we need to look at essentially is just one layer, which will be down here. And as you can see, we only practically use these notes that are in tension the whole way, apart from this one little note on top. And the reason we do so is because glow beats, they sound really hard when you use notes in tension, so from the G and the G sharp, or in instances here like D and D sharp. So all I did was lay down this nice little bouncy pattern. As you can see, it's very important to have some spacing in between, creates a nice little flow, and then a bit of variation at the end of the 4-bar, and then I just looped it over for a full 8, and then I took it up 1 and 2 octaves to really thicken the layer up and make it sound much fuller. So without further ado, this is what the first component of the melody sounds like. So as you can see, sounds super dope, super hard, already give you that energy that you like from glow beats. But for the effects, I've got myself a nice EQ here, cutting off frequencies I'm not a fan of, and literally all of the lows have been wiped out. On top of that, I added a minor bit of reverb, as you can see from the preset here. And last but not least, I stereo separated the sound around 30%, just to make it a bit wider in the mix, gives it that fullness, and yeah. Next up, we got another instance of Expand 2, and we're using a preset called the Resonating Lead, which is from the Soft Leads bank, as you can see here. This lead, or any lead similar to this when you hear it, is a kind of like a spooky lead, the best way to describe it, and it sounds really good with glow beats pretty much all the time. So for the pattern, as you can see, I literally just lay down a simple pattern here, again making use of the notes in tension such as G and G sharp, giving that dark vibe, that glow vibe to it. And then all I did for the second half was paste it over and then take it up a full octave, giving it that energy that comes with the glow beats, making it sound even harder for the second half. And that's my logic behind it all. Quite simple, quite straightforward, really don't overthink it, but this is what the melody sounds like. And there you have it. As for effects, you can see we've just got a basic EQ cutting off all the unwanted frequencies. And we've added some reverb just to create a bit of ambience within the lead itself. Next up, we got ourselves a one-shot, and I'm using this bell perk, also known as just the Yeet bell. Everyone knows this bell by now. If you don't have it, go on Reddit. I promise you'll find it somewhere. This bell is everywhere. And all I did with this bell was obviously layer it to the note of the pattern that I made previously, which is in G, and of course just have it hit at the beginning of every 4-bar. So this is what the bell sounds like. There you have it. As for effects on the bell, very simple EQ here, and on top of that, a bit of reverb just to create ambience and widen the sound. Next up, we got ourselves a preset from Analog Lab 5, and I'm using a sub-bass preset known as Infinity. And as you can see from the pattern here, very simple, straightforward, following the root note of the original melody, which is G, placing down this every 2-bar, leaving a bit of space here because it creates a nice little bit of tension in my opinion, giving it a bit of space so it's not always just filled with the bass. And that's my logic behind my pattern. Very simple, again straightforward, don't overcomplicate it. And this is what it sounds like. And there you have it, super dope, super hard, and the bass really just fills the frequencies. Now for the last preset, we got ourselves an instance of Purity, and we're using a preset called the PW Phase from the Lead Synth bank. As you can see, this is the pattern I've got laid down here, very simple and straightforward again. First of all, we start off with the root note of G, And then we slowly just climb up, creating this nice little staircase thing. All I did was right click and drag, and I just copy and pasted it over until I got the whole thing covered in. And I pasted this whole over and took it up an octave just for a bit of variation. Again, variation doesn't always come in the form of changing the note. It might even just be changing the whole octave or the pitch of it. So that's what I try and get you guys to see. Simplicity is essentially just key. I know that was not meant to rhyme, but hey, here we are. Last thing I did as well was click Alt-R to randomize the velocity of the pattern, giving it a bit of movement, so that's why I did that. As for effects, I got myself a fruity panamatic, giving the sound a left and right movement. I added a Portal preset called Blur, just to give it a bit more of a texture to it. Added this EQ, messing with the frequencies of course. And then last but not least, some reverb because hey, it's always needed. And the last thing I did is once I rendered the melody out, I took it down 7 semitones, taking it down from a C minor down to a G minor. The final thing I did to this preset was I stereo separated it 100%, just because this was more of a background element than anything. And this is what the final melody sounds like. And there you have it, folks. Super dark, super hard, a really good glow beat. This would really suit people again like Trippie Red, especially Chief Keef as well, you know, pioneer of the glow. But let's move on to the drums. First things first, of course, we got ourselves the clap pattern. All it is a very, very basic clap, as you can see here. But from looking in the playlist, we can see that I have layered this with a classic Luger snare, just to give it a bit more fullness in the clap, especially the high and crisp. Sounds super dope, but we all know what it sounds like, so let's move on to the hi-hats. As you can see from the pattern, it's very simple in my opinion, and I'm gonna just walk you through it because hey, that's what we're here for. So this is essentially a 4-bar looped over to a full 8, so let's just focus in on this 4-bar right here. First thing you need to know is I went onto the magnet tool and went onto half step, so that's what I did. Then I right clicked and scrolled down 1 until you reach this paintbrush tool, or click the paintbrush tool up here. And next thing I did was I zoomed in at the very start, and I thought it would sound good to get a nice little roll going, so all I did was click shift and drag. And as you can see, the notes drag in, except I obviously did it down on the C. Then we come to here. I did another simple roll, as you guys can see here. Then it came down to this part, and all I did was actually just mess with the pitch of the hi-hats here. Nothing much really, so that's why I did that. And then the last thing I actually did was just do another roll. Simple as that. And then that's really it. It is really that simple. Just go with your intuition, what sounds good to the ear, that's your product. So without further ado, this is what the hi-hat and clap sounds like together. And there you have it. Next up, we've got ourselves the 808 pattern, of course. And before we continue, I just realized I messed up earlier. It's actually not a 7 semitone difference between the C and the G. It's actually 5. That was a lie for me. Don't kill me in the comments. But for the 808 pattern, as you can see here, we've got ourselves a nice spaced out pattern. Really makes the 808 hit harder in my opinion. And I really love doing this kind of 808 bounce when on the second time, it just hits one note after the other. Not the typical bounce. Then going into here with another 808. Dropping it down by a bit, essentially repeating the same 4-bar over for the 8, but at the end I just switched it up and taking this up an octave and adding a bit of a roll. And last but not least, what I did to my 808 in kicks, because you need to know this, is click Control A, highlighting the whole pattern and using your right scroll wheel to scroll up and max your velocities out. I say this in every video, but it's very important because maxing your velocities on your kicks and 808 allows your kick and 808 to hit harder in the mix. It sounds punchier, makes your beat more appealing to artists and even producers, so do it. And as to the kick pattern, it's essentially the 808 pattern, as you can see, just layered over. And that little tiny roll, I just didn't play it here because I thought it wouldn't sound good with a kick. So this is what the 808 and kick sound like together. And there we have it. Last but not least, we got 2 more drums that I used. So for the open heart pattern we've got here, I essentially just repeat it every 2 bar, just only having it play at the beginning, just so it gives that 808 slash that kick a nice little harder hit. And that was the whole point of the open heart. And the last thing I actually did was just get a snare and lay down this nice little thing at the end of every 4 bar, giving it a bit of a nice little like bounce, in my opinion. That's what I thought it really gave. And then I obviously just copy and pasted it over for the full 8. So without further ado, this is what the full beat sounds like. there you have it, guys, a super dope glow beat. But before we wrap this video up, let me walk you through the structure. So for this particular beat, as you can see here, it's a very simple pattern, and I'm gonna walk you through it now. First things first, we got ourselves the intro. All I did was just lay down the whole melody, as you can see. However, for a bit of variation, just to give the intro a bit of a spice, I went onto this channel rack, added a Fruity Love filter, and all I did with the Fruity Love filter was right click here, use the simple triangle low pass LFO. Once I did that, I right click this button, go down to create automation clip, and what that does is it creates an automation down here which allows me to control how I want it to sound. So obviously I don't want that to be playing throughout the whole beat, just the intro and some other parts, as you can see. And just to show off the effect, this is what it sounds like. And there you have it. You see what I mean? Sounds really dope, really interesting intro. Get the artist hooked onto your beat already. But now onto the chorus. As you can see from the chorus, very simple. All I did was just insert the key patterns with the key drums. And then for the second half of the chorus, I added this extra element here, which was a nice little lead we had. And of course the open hat and the snares. Then coming into the verse section, we start off with the first verse, taking out pretty much everything apart from the drums. Just messing with the hi-hat pattern but leaving the main instrument in. Then we come into the key part. I add the bell for a bit of an effect, add in the lead and add in the open hats. And then coming into the pre-hook, I pretty much have everything playing together for a melody apart from the bass line. Then I have the drums pretty much playing, but like I have a lo-fi low pass filter from the Fruity Love filter automation that I had in the intro, it just makes it sound super dope, so it doesn't actually sound like it's just a regular part of the verse. It kind of indicates that, yeah, this is the pre-hook and then the hook's gonna come in. And then all I did was just right click and drag and copy and paste that over, and then I added the hook again back onto the end, making it an 8-bar intro, 16-bar hook, 24-bar verse, and then repeat 16 again, 24 again, and then a full 16. And then that's the full beat. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you've really understood how to make a dope glow beat here. And of course, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe as I said before, and enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.